Is death really the end? Have famous faces truly vanished, or do they linger in our world long after their physical bodies are gone? Celebrity deaths captivate our attention, but what happens when their spirits refuse to leave the spotlight? Number 11. Marilyn Monroe's haunting presence. Can a Hollywood icon's spirit remain decades after her mysterious death? Employees and guests at the Roosevelt Hotel in Hollywood have reported countless encounters with Marilyn Monroe's ghost since her passing in 1962. The hotel's Suite 1200, where Marilyn frequently stayed during photo shoots, seems to be her favorite haunting ground. Visitors claim to see her reflection in the full-length mirror that once belonged to her, now displayed in the hotel lobby. Staff members report inexplicable cold spots, the scent of her signature Chanel No. 5 perfume wafting through empty hallways, and lights flickering without explanation. But Marilyn's spirit doesn't confine itself to just one location. Her former home on Helena Drive in Brentwood has been a hotspot for paranormal activity since her death. Subsequent homeowners have documented strange occurrences, doors opening and closing on their own, mysterious footsteps echoing through the house at night, and even full apparitions of the blonde bombshell appearing in doorways before vanishing. Even more compelling are accounts from visitors to her crypt at Westwood Village Memorial Park, where fans and cemetery workers alike report seeing a pink-clad figure resembling Monroe wandering among the graves before disappearing into thin air. Psychics who have visited these locations claim Marilyn's spirit remains restless due to the mysterious circumstances surrounding her death. Whether you believe these accounts or not, the consistency of the reports across multiple locations suggests something unusual continues to occur decades after the star's passing. Number 10. Elvis Presley's Graceland afterlife. Is the king of rock and roll still in the building? Since Elvis Presley's death in 1977, Graceland has become more than just a memorial. It's allegedly become his eternal stage. Thousands of visitors and staff at his Memphis mansion have reported extraordinary encounters over the years. Tour guides regularly share stories of hearing Elvis's laugh echoing through the jungle room, his favorite part of the house. Security cameras have captured unexplained shadows moving across rooms when the property is empty, and the piano in the living room occasionally plays soft melodies when no one is near it. Elvis's ex-wife Priscilla Presley herself has acknowledged the strange occurrences, stating in a 2015 interview, "There's a very strong feeling of Elvis at Graceland. Sometimes the kitchen radio turns on by itself playing his songs." Even more compelling are the accounts from Elvis's bedroom, where housekeepers report finding indentations on the perfectly made bed, as if someone had just been sitting there. Visitors on tour frequently claim to see a figure in white standing at the upstairs windows areas that have been closed to the public since Elvis's death. The paranormal activity isn't limited to Graceland. The Las Vegas Hilton, where Elvis performed hundreds of shows, has its share of Elvis ghost stories. Staff members have reported seeing his reflection in mirrors and hearing his distinctive voice humming in empty hallways. Fans gathering at his grave during death anniversaries have captured orbs and unexplained figures in photographs that weren't visible to the naked eye. Whether these phenomena represent the restless spirit of a man who died too young or are simply manifestations of collective grief and imagination, the sheer volume of consistent reports suggests something unusual continues to occur around locations significant to the king. Number 9. Michael Jackson's Neverland hauntings. Can the king of pop still be moonwalking in the afterlife? Security guards at Michael Jackson's former Neverland Ranch have reported chilling encounters since his 2009 death. Night patrol officers claim to see a figure resembling Jackson dancing beneath the estate's famous tree where he used to compose music. The movement is unmistakable, the same fluid grace that made him famous, but when approached, the figure vanishes into the night air. Inside the main house, caretakers report even stranger occurrences. The sound of footsteps pacing in Jackson's former bedroom when the room is empty. His hits like Billie Jean and Thriller playing faintly from stereos that aren't plugged in. Most compelling are the accounts from the ranch's amusement park area, now silent and mostly dismantled, where security cameras have captured a shadowy figure riding the carousel in the dead of night. When guards investigate, they find the rides completely still and no signs of entry. Visitors to Jackson's grave at Forest Lawn Memorial Park have their own stories. Fans gathering for memorials report sudden cold spots even on hot summer days, camera malfunctions when attempting to photograph his mausoleum, and the unmistakable scent of his cologne lingering around his final resting place. Some have even claimed to capture orbs and strange light anomalies in photos taken at the grave. Psychics who have visited the site claim Jackson's spirit remains connected to our world due to his sudden, unexpected death and unfinished creative projects. The consistent nature of these reports across different locations associated with Jackson suggests something unexplained continues to occur years after his passing. Number 8. Lucille Ball's playful spirit. Do I Love Lucy fans have reason to believe their beloved star is still making mischief? The owners of Lucille Ball's former Beverly Hills home have documented decades of unexplainable phenomena since her death in 1989. Windows that unlock themselves, lights that turn on and off without explanation, and furniture that mysteriously rearranges overnight have been regular occurrences. One family who lived there in the 1990s reported hearing loud laughter, distinctly similar to Lucy's famous cackle coming from empty rooms. Even more compelling are the accounts from the Carlson Building in Jamestown, New York, where the Lucille Ball Daisy Arnaz Museum is housed. Staff members report exhibits being rearranged overnight despite the security system showing no entries. Visitors frequently report feeling someone brush past them in empty hallways, and several have captured strange orbs in photographs taken near Lucy's memorabilia. The museum's vintage television, which plays old episodes of I Love Lucy, has been known to turn on by itself, usually playing scenes from Lucy's favorite episodes. Perhaps most convincing are the experiences at the Hollywood Walk of Fame near Lucy's star. Street performers who work the area claim that on the anniversary of her death, strange technical glitches affect their equipment, microphones pick up unexplained static, and sometimes they hear faint laughter that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Paranormal investigators who have studied these locations suggest Lucy's comedic and mischievous nature in life might explain the playful quality of the haunting, as if she's still trying to entertain her fans from beyond the grave. Number 7. John Lennon's haunting melodies. Can musical genius transcend death itself? Since John Lennon's tragic murder outside the Dakota Building in New York City in 1980, residents and visitors have reported extraordinary experiences suggesting his creative spirit lingers. The building's staff members have documented seeing a figure resembling Lennon near the entrance where he was shot, only for it to vanish when approached. Inside, residents report hearing phantom piano music playing Beatles songs and Lennon's solo work from empty apartments late at night. Yoko Ono, who continued to live in their apartment after Lennon's death, has spoken publicly about sensing his presence. In a 2010 interview, she claimed, "John's spirit comes to visit me. I feel his energy around certain objects he loved." More specifically, she described an incident where the piano in their apartment played a few notes from Imagine when no one was near it, and the room filled with the scent of the cigarettes Lennon used to smoke. Beyond the Dakota, recording studios where Lennon worked have their own stories. Engineers at Abbey Road Studios in London report equipment behaving strangely when Beatles songs are being remastered, volume knobs adjusting themselves, isolated tracks becoming briefly audible when they shouldn't be, and unexplained cold spots forming around specific microphones Lennon used. Tourists visiting Strawberry Fields, the memorial to Lennon in Central Park, frequently report capturing strange light anomalies in photographs and hearing whispered lyrics from his songs when no one is singing. Whether these phenomena represent Lennon's creative energy continuing to express itself or are manifestations of collective grief from his millions of fans, the consistency and ongoing nature of the reports suggests something unexplained continues to occur around locations significant to the beloved musician. Number 6. Princess Diana's royal haunting. Can a princess whose life ended so tragically find peace in death? Since Princess Diana's fatal car crash in 1997, staff at Kensington Palace, her former home, have reported uncanny experiences that suggest her spirit may still wander the grounds. Security guards patrolling at night claim to see a figure resembling Diana watching from windows of her former apartments, only to find the rooms empty upon investigation. Housekeepers report items connected to her sons mysteriously moving locations overnight, as if a mother's protective instinct continues beyond the grave. Even more compelling are the accounts from Althorpe House, the Spencer family estate where Diana is buried on a small island in the middle of a lake. Groundskeepers have documented seeing a figure in a dress that matches Diana's style walking along the shoreline at dusk. Visitors report sudden, unexplained cold spots near the memorial temple built in her honor, and photographers have captured strange light anomalies in pictures taken facing the island, particularly on her birthday and the anniversary of her death. Paris holds its own Diana ghost stories. Hotel staff at the Ritz, where she spent her final evening, report elevators stopping at the floor of the suite she used without buttons being pressed, and guests occasionally claim to see a blonde woman in elegant clothing walking the hallways before disappearing around corners. Near the Pont de l'Alma tunnel where the crash occurred, locals report seeing a woman resembling Diana standing at the entrance on the anniversary of her death, vanishing when approached. Paranormal researchers suggest Diana's sudden, shocking death and the intense global grief that followed may have created conditions for her energy to remain connected to locations that were significant in her life and death. Number 5. Tupac Shakur's unfinished business. Is one of hip-hop's most iconic figures still making his presence known decades after his unsolved murder? Since Tupac Shakur's death in 1996, recording studios where he once worked have become hotbeds of unexplained phenomena. Sound engineers in Los Angeles studios report equipment malfunctions that occur specifically when discussing Tupac or playing his music. Headphones unplugged from consoles somehow continue playing his verses, and microphones pick up whispered lyrics from his songs when recording booths are empty. The Las Vegas Strip, where Tupac was fatally shot, has its own haunting tales. Taxi drivers report picking up passengers who match Tupac's description, only to have them vanish from the back seat when reaching their destination. Street performers near the location of the shooting claim their sound systems occasionally pick up brief snippets of unreleased Tupac lyrics, despite playing completely different music. Security cameras at nearby hotels have captured unexplained shadows that move with the distinctive swagger Tupac was known for. Perhaps most compelling are the experiences reported at his mother Afeni Shakur's former home in Georgia, where many of his personal items were kept after his death. Caretakers documented strange occurrences, handwritten lyrics rearranging themselves in display cases overnight, his favorite records playing at low volume from unplugged stereos, and the scent of the specific brand of cigarettes he smoked wafting through sealed rooms containing his memorabilia. Paranormal investigators suggest Tupac's unresolved murder, combined with the powerful messages in his music about social justice and resistance, might explain why his energy appears to remain active in our world. The fact that new Tupac music continued to be released for years after his death only adds to the mystique surrounding his possible continued presence. Number 4. Rudolph Valentino's Hollywood Hauntings. Can a century-old Hollywood heartthrob still make temperatures rise from beyond the grave? Since silent film star Rudolph Valentino's death in 1926, his former residence Falcon Lair in Beverly Hills has been a hotbed of paranormal activity. Subsequent owners have documented strange occurrences: the sound of riding boots pacing the hallways at night, mirrors that fog up with no explanation, and the distinct scent of Valentino's favorite cologne lingering in his former bedroom despite extensive renovations. Hollywood's Cathedral Mausoleum, where Valentino was initially interred, has its own tales. Security guards report seeing a figure in 1920s clothing wandering the hallways before disappearing, and visitors leave flowers at his former crypt only to return and find them rearranged. But the most famous Valentino haunting centers around the Lady in Black, a veiled woman who visited his grave annually on the anniversary of his death for decades. After her own passing, cemetery workers began reporting sightings of two figures at the grave, a man in period clothing and a veiled woman, who vanish when approached. The Millennium Biltmore Hotel in downtown Los Angeles, where Valentino frequently danced, reports its own encounters. Staff members have documented seeing a couple in 1920s attire dancing in the Crystal Ballroom during quiet hours, their feet making no sound on the floor. When approached, they simply fade from view. Elevators at the hotel mysteriously stop at the floor where Valentino held his last public appearance, despite no buttons being pressed. Paranormal researchers suggest Valentino's sudden death at the height of his fame, combined with the mass hysteria that followed, including several fan suicides, created a powerful emotional imprint that continues to manifest nearly a century later. Number 3. Houdini's spectral escape acts. Could the world's greatest escape artist have performed his most impossible feat by escaping death itself? Despite Harry Houdini's skepticism about spiritualism during his lifetime and his promise to return if possible, strange occurrences have been documented at locations connected to the magician since his death in 1926. The house in Laurel Canyon where he lived during his Hollywood years has been plagued by inexplicable events: handcuffs and locks found open in the morning after being secured at night, water tanks mysteriously filling themselves, and the sounds of struggling and splashing coming from empty rooms. The theaters where Houdini performed his most famous acts report their own phenomena. Stagehands at the Palace Theater in New York City claim to see shadow figures manipulating rope knots and lockpicks moving by themselves in areas where Houdini would prepare backstage. During renovations, workers discovered hidden compartments in the theater's structure that weren't on any blueprints, some containing vintage escape tools that appear to have been recently handled despite being untouched for decades. Perhaps most compelling are the annual Halloween seances held since Houdini's death, attempting to contact him according to a prearranged code he established with his wife Bess. While she eventually gave up declaring Houdini did not come through, modern seances continue to document strange occurrences, unexplained knocking sounds in specific patterns, rooms growing inexplicably cold, and objects associated with Houdini's performances: handcuffs, locks, keys, moving or falling without explanation. Paranormal investigators note the irony that Houdini, who dedicated much of his later career to debunking fake mediums, would become the subject of some of the most enduring ghost stories in entertainment history. Whether these phenomena represent the great magician's final performance or simply the power of suggestion among his devoted fans remains one of magic's greatest unsolved mysteries. Number 2. Carole Lombard's persistent presence. Can a Hollywood tragedy keep a star earthbound? Since actress Carole Lombard's 1942 plane crash death while returning from a war bond tour, the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel where she often stayed has documented decades of unexplained encounters. Guests staying in rooms she frequented report seeing a blonde woman in vintage clothing at the foot of their beds who vanishes when addressed. Hotel staff have captured unexplained cold spots and equipment malfunctions on the 9th floor, where Lombard preferred to stay, and the scent of her signature gardenia perfume often wafts through empty hallways. The most compelling Lombard haunting centers around her husband Clark Gable's former ranch in Encino. Subsequent owners have reported a female presence that seems protective rather than frightening. Doors that lock themselves at night, as if securing the home for safety. Objects connected to Gable mysteriously moved to prominent positions. One family who lived there in the 1970s documented their young daughter having conversations with an invisible friend who matched Lombard's description perfectly, despite the child having no knowledge of the home's history. Even more intriguing are the accounts from the crash site at Potosi Mountain near Las Vegas. Hikers and aviation enthusiasts who visit the remote location report sudden temperature drops even on hot desert days, unexplained equipment failures in cameras and recording devices, and some claim to hear faint big band music from the 1940s with no discernible source. Park rangers who patrol the area acknowledge the unusual number of reports centered around the anniversary of the crash. Paranormal researchers suggest Lombard's sudden, tragic death while performing patriotic service, combined with her separation from Gable, the love of her life, might explain why her energy appears to remain active in our world nearly 8 decades later. Number 1. Heath Ledger's dark energy. Can an actor's most haunting role follow him beyond death? Since Heath Ledger's accidental overdose in 2008, the Soho apartment where he died has been the center of disturbing reports. Subsequent residents have documented unsettling phenomena, inexplicable laughter reminiscent of Ledger's Joker character echoing through empty rooms at night, sudden temperature drops that defy the building's heating system, and electronics malfunctioning in patterns that seem almost purposeful. One tenant reported waking repeatedly to find playing cards arranged in specific patterns on surfaces that had been clear before they went to sleep. Film sets where Ledger worked have their own stories. During post-production work on The Dark Knight, editors reported unexplained technical glitches affecting only scenes featuring Ledger's Joker character. Equipment would malfunction, files would corrupt, or playback would freeze on particularly intense moments of his performance. Some crew members claimed to see a shadowy figure in their peripheral vision that disappeared when looked at directly. The makeup room used during filming was eventually abandoned by staff who refused to work there alone after reporting whispering sounds and items connected to the Joker character moving positions overnight. Perhaps most compelling are the accounts from friends and family who have reported vivid dreams where Ledger communicates with them, often sharing details he couldn't have known in life. Several have independently described waking to find their mobile phones displaying the exact time of 1/8, matching the date of his death on January 8th. Paranormal researchers suggest the intensity of Ledger's psychological immersion in the Joker role, combined with his unexpected death during the editing of the film, might have created powerful emotional conditions for residual energy. Whether these phenomena represent Ledger's troubled spirit or the collective grief of fans unable to accept his early death, the consistency of the reports suggests something unexplained continues to manifest around locations and objects connected to the talented actor. Do the famous ever truly die, or do they simply change form? When millions of people focus their attention and emotion on a single person, does that collective energy create something that persists beyond physical death? These celebrity hauntings may be nothing more than wishful thinking, grief, or our human need to maintain connections with those who have touched our lives. Or perhaps they're glimpses of something science has yet to understand, the possibility that consciousness, like energy, can neither be created nor destroyed, but only transformed. What might they be trying to tell us from the other side?